Back here with Bart Scott. So the Patriots kick off their postseason against Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. They know the Chargers finished the regular season with a better record, a better defense, some would say a better offense. But the Patriots are trying to reach the Super Bowl for the 4th time in 5 years, with a quarterback who, despite slowing down, is far from done. All right, Bart Scott, how do the Patriots beat the Chargers?
Well, there's no team better at situational football than the New England Patriots. I know we have seen some chinks in the armor. You go back to the Miami game when Tom, took the sack before halftime, things of that sort, things that we're not accustomed to seeing. But they know how to lock in, and they know what playoff football is all about. I look at two people. I look at Gronkowski in the red zone and being able to get explosive plays if you decide to go man-to-man. And I look at James White. James White with 87 receptions, has been killing teams. And it's his ability to be isolated against linebackers to get explosive plays. That's how they get their explosive plays. They thought Josh Gordon was going to be the guy to help them stretch the field. It's still more about James White. They get the ball in his hands. He's able to make guys miss. And then, of course, Sony Michel being able to run the ball in between the tackles. What'll be interesting to see what type of front is Gus Bradley going to come up with, because last week he came with the bear front. You're familiar with it. Buddy Ryan created it. Pretty much he covered up the center and he covered up the guards, allowing his safety 7 DB type of defense to run and scrape. You can't get away with that this week because the Pacers are one of very few teams that utilize a fullback. So if you do that, they'll make you pay because they'll isolate those little
double the nose, fullback lead up and bust one of the little safeties in their mouth. Right,
absolutely. It come right down. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. I think Meebam's going to be back this week.
Yes, he is.
So this is going to allow them to go with the underfronts and the overfronts. But it's going to be how they decide to bracket Sony Michel and bracket James White. And also, can Derwin James come down man-to-man, one-on-one, and be able to take Gronkowski out of this game to allow you to keep your safeties high and not get the explosive plays up?
I'm glad you mentioned Rob Gronkowski, because in years past, of course, he would be a huge key of any big Patriot game. This year just
last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It just hasn't been the case this season. I do wonder what the week off did for Gronk. And I wonder if Jenna, you were talking earlier about being able to, Brady being able to channel tap into some greatness that he has. I wonder if Gronk just has whatever he had left in the tank, how replenished it was by the week off. Because the last half of the season, there's only been one game Gronk had more than 3 catches. Wow. All year long, he only had 3 touchdowns. They put all these incentives in his contract. He didn't reach
hit any of them.
a lick of them because this year he has not looked like, forget the best tight end in football, he hadn't looked like one of the 5 best tight ends in football. Does he have something he can tap into? Because if not, Derwin James will erase him. Derwin James would be the exact type of player you wanted to match up against prime Gronk, much less a lesser Gronk. So I think that is a key. And I think Chris's point of the page from yesterday, I thought it was it's almost obvious, but I hadn't even considered it, so I guess it's not that obvious. Last week, they were playing the quarterback who had the least ability to audible at the line, the least freedom to look at what the defense is doing and change it. You said they would call it, run it, is what you're doing with Lamar.
Yes.
Now, the Chargers are playing the quarterback with the most freedom, the most ability to look at what the defense is showing him and say, this is what's better for us.
5 seconds. You have to wait until 5 seconds before you reveal what type of front you're in. You don't move until Tom Brady points out the mic. Everything else is smoke and mirrors. If he don't point out the mic, he hasn't set the protection. He's always going to set his protection. But what San Diego does that is unique, they're able to go to this NASCAR type of packs. When you think about the Giants and the trouble they gave the offensive line, it's Bosa moving inside sometimes. It's Melvin Ingram off the ball, being able to isolate against the guard, and it's this kid Nwosu, who allows them to be able to do that. And can those guys get pressure up the A-gaps? Because Tom Brady, if he ever takes his eyes from downfield, it's only when he gets A-gap pressure. So it's going to be important that you get interior pressure on Tom Brady, because as great as he is, he's one of the least accurate quarterbacks on the move, because he's one of these guys that hears the rush and sees the rush. If you get to him early and get to him often and get him on the ground, that's the most important part. can they get to him with 4? And if they go out there with these little guys with Nwosu, Bosa, and Ingram, do they change the play and play power football and make you pay? It's going to be a constant chess match all day.
Yeah, I think the chess match is important. Match is important between Gus Bradley and Josh McDaniel, what they're going to try to do. I believe Brady's ability to make plays down the field to punish this defense is a key to the game. But you know, when you're playing against the Patriots, their defense, they're not giving up more than 20 points, especially at home. So my key of the game is on the offensive side of the ball for the L.A. Chargers. Man, you got to be able to score some points. Phillip Rivers, if he don't have 4 or 5 sound bites talking about, Belichick, that was a stupid blitz that you had all shots.
Talking about like mic'd up, not sound bites after the game.
If he doesn't have some of them moments, if he doesn't have a couple first down moments where he's fist pumping and things like that, and it becomes really important outside. The secondary of the Patriots is really underrated. Can the wide receivers and can the tight ends, Antonio Gates, he's running in slow motion. Can he convert on 3rd down? Because he's big on 3rd down. And the wild card in the game.
Hunter Henry's been a full go all week. When you talk about the tight ends, a guy who tore his ACL in the offseason training activities, hasn't played all season long. He's now been a full go in practice.
Yeah, and I know fantasy football fans, I know people are like, oh, Hunter Henry, he's back, he's activated. But let me tell you what New England's going to let him know. When he catches the ball, if he catches it, we are tackling him on his knees. We're going to ask him, do you want another surgery? So mentally, he's in the game. He's practicing, but those practices aren't like the game. So him having an effect on this game, is he able to be a wild card in this game? He wouldn't be effective against Bart Scott.
Right, you're smirking, man.
We know we can do this the easy way or the hard way, because you cut my guy that's coming off injury, Gronk, I'm chopping that wood too. Because you got body parts, bionicle, elbows, knees, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
too.
that scar is still fresh on that knee.
One name to watch in this game. I'm trying to do this for each game. Desmond King. He's a first-team All-Pro punt and kick returner.
Yep.
He's also been one of the best slot corners in football this year. Derwin James and Casey Hayward get a lot of the headlines in the San Diego and Los Angeles secondary.
Edelman.
Desmond King's been excellent, and
that matchup against Edelman
is key. And we never see the Pats lose the special team battle in the playoffs. I think they lost it to you guys when they lost an AFC Divisional game. They ran a silly fake punt that didn't work out. If Desmond King busts off a big return, that could be a key play in this game. Watch him throughout the game.
Just quickly, when you look at this team, when you did this the other day with the list, you said, who are the best players in this matchup? And except for Brady, they were almost all Chargers. You look at who's got the better defense, it goes to the Chargers. You could argue the Chargers have the better offense. And yet, why does it feel like this game is really hard to see and to pick who's going to win? Is it that? Is it the lure of the Patriots at home, at Gillette, all of it?
Gillette's just a tough place to play, and this is a team coming 2 weeks in a row, coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, and they get the bad draw because they're playing at 10 o'clock their body clock time.
For the second straight week.
Second straight week, and they've handled that. They've been road warriors because they really don't have a home field, and let's see if they can bring that momentum. You have to manufacture your own hype on the road because everybody else is against you. You have to take that mentality. You got to go in there. You got to be fearless. You can't just try and win this game a little bit. You got to go out there and try and step on the New England Patriots' throat.
2 things, top to bottom, the Chargers roster from the 1 to 53 is as strong as anyone in the NFL. And they have one of the most underrated quarterback, one of the true leaders in the NFL in Rivers. Can he get that playoff win in Gillette? That's the reason why we give him hope.